How's it going, you guys? So, I wanted to discuss a little bit about health, obviously, because that's pretty much all I ever talk about, right? But how can we achieve optimal health without doing unnecessary things? How can we be have the most efficient approach to health? So, listen, the thing is, a lot of people have this really weird, like, heavenly idea of health that isn't actually practical and isn't actually realistic in the real world. They believe in, like, spiritual cleansing through their diet and, like, completely reversing aging using nutrition. And listen, I don't think that's not possible. Like, in fact, I feel like certain nutritional strategies can definitely at least seem to reverse aging to an extent. There are certain nutritional protocols which definitely can increase your energy and make you feel like you're 14 again. They can reverse all of your health issues. They can, like, make life effortless, basically. And it all stems from your nutrition. I absolutely agree with that. But I don't believe that you need to, spend $1,000 on magical sea algae or reishi spore oil, which I'm not saying is they're not good supplements or anything, but you don't need those to make a huge impact on your health. People think that they have to go through this crazy process of, nutritional healing in order to feel their best. When the reality is, these very people seem usually, almost always, not all of them, but almost always, they have some type of hypochondria deep down inside. And listen, I was there. I had extremely bad health anxiety when I first started my journey. That's how I got to where I am today. Is because I'm the type of person, when I have a fucking problem, I want to get to the bottom of it as soon as I can to solve it so I can move on with my life and feel better, right? I can't be put at ease until I find the truth about something. And so that's how I've kind of realized, holy shit, hypochondria is running a shit ton of these health gurus' belief system, right? So, I think we can all agree that Vegetable Police is one YouTube channel where he went from, like, doing all these crazy, like, vegan experiments and things to all of a sudden being carnivore. And then when he turned carnivore, he wasn't even, like, sure, you could tell physically he reversed all his issues and he felt better than he ever has, but still it wasn't enough for him. He still has to continue with these crazy experiments, and he's not really doing anything productive for himself at all. Like, the thing is, it's like, once you reach optimal health, if you're addicted to finding optimal health, you can be as healthy as you ever have been, but you're going to continue to search for, like, the nirvana of health even after you've already found it. So you're going to be so addicted to finding the secrets of health that you may have found the secret of health, but you can't acknowledge it once you found it because you're addicted to finding it. You don't really care about having it. You care more about, there's this new way of doing it. It's really, really crazy when you understand this. And so you have health gurus that just feed off of that, like Dr. Morse. All these people who talk about, like, cellular cleansing and shit like that, which is, like, there's really not a whole lot of scientific mechanism for the vast majority of them. Now, some people can, talk about things like acid-alkaline balance in a scientific way, because it does exist. It's just that most people don't understand what it actually is. People say, you need your body to be alkaline, because the body is electrical. Well, listen, fuckboy, the body cannot be alkaline. The body cannot be alkaline. But yes, shut the fuck up and listen, fuckboy. The body cannot be alkaline. The blood can be alkaline. The parts of the intestines can be alkaline. The stomach, though, better be fucking acidic. Okay? Number one, so it can digest animal proteins, which you fucking need. Number two, so that it can actually turn over cells via methylation, also so that it can actually absorb vitamin B12 and other essential nutrients. Without stomach acid, it cannot do that. And so it can't turn over cells, which means it cannot prevent cancer from growing, because that's the entire process in which cell turnover is regulated by, which is the entire process that cancer cells and healthy cells are regulated by. Anyway, you know, people, they're just like, they take these concepts that are actually fact and scientific, and they blow them all crazy out of proportion and develop a cult following around it. And usually the people following this cult, they don't care about science. They don't care about reality. They're just into this weird fantasy land of nutrition. And it's crazy because they make this all so crazy. Like so exaggerated. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, and all these people that say, oh, like, you know, I'm just going to eat whatever I want because everything causes cancer and it's just too complicated. Like, that's just as crazy as these crazy people. It's very easy, you know? So essentially, and this is from, you know, years and years of suffering and then reversing my own health problems and spending hours every day in the bookstores, all different bookstores, at the library, using their Wi-Fi and using my own Wi-Fi as well. Just hours and hours researching, not just books, not just lectures from all different experts on the entire spectrum, different doctors and science researchers, but also actually learning how to interpret science and then reading the references in the books and realizing, oh shit, like 95% of books you see that you buy with scientific references, these references don't even actually back up the shit these authors are saying. Anyway, I've spent like 5 whole years of my life, almost like 4 to 8 hours a day, researching. Everything scientific, anecdotal, and unscientific. Okay? Everything. I want to know the fucking truth. And, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, and I found that there's some common things that heal the vast majority of people, and there's some common things that don't really matter, okay? And there's some common things that hurt the vast majority of people. So essentially, the most important thing to think about is principles. Everyone wants to know what to think, but no one wants to find out how to think. You gotta learn how to approach this. And essentially, learning principles rather than solid protocols is the way to go. So, at a baseline, most people's health problems are being caused by, eating the wrong types of foods, eating the wrong amounts of these foods, or food intolerances. So pretty much everybody is going to be negatively impacted by excessive amounts of unnatural substances. And this is not an appeal to nature thing. This has to do with our biology and how our biology is designed to run, okay? So carbohydrates are not the devil, but the fact is, if you eat too much carbohydrates, your body will start to develop problems over time due to the incapacity to handle the insulin load and the glucose load. But if you exercise, especially vigorously on a regular basis, you can get away with it a lot more to a large degree. Now, an important thing to realize is caloric restriction will lower blood sugar and lower insulin levels regardless of carbohydrate intake. So somebody eating a calorically restricted diet will be able to get away with higher insulin loads over time versus someone who won't, regardless of exercise. Someone who exercises on a regular basis will be more sensitive to insulin, will be able to handle more. But somebody who's sedentary and who just eats, 100 to 1,000 calories over their caloric limit, and their blood sugar levels will be much harder to regulate. Their insulin and their blood sugar levels are going to tend to cause more problems than somebody who's calorically restricting their diet and other things. So this calorie in versus calories out thing, there's a lot more to it. Regardless, though, it plays a role, especially in insulin and hormones. Your glucagon, your leptin levels, your ghrelin levels, your insulin levels. Okay. Anyway, you know, you've got to figure this out on your own. Really, you've got to figure out: am I extremely sensitive to carbohydrates? You know, or do I do better on a ketogenic diet? You know, and again, like, you don't have to even follow my dogma. Like, this is just, again, I'm outlining some principles here. Is some people, if they actually do the ketogenic diet for a month, and they make sure they're eating enough fat, enough calories, and enough protein, they can actually feel like it's the norm for people to feel better than anything they've ever tried on a ketogenic diet. There's a reason why hundreds and thousands of people have switched from veganism over to keto. But there's some people who might just not be able to do very well on it, either because of surgeries, because of medications they're on, or maybe just for some reason their metabolism is different. I'd say, again, this is the exception, not the norm, but, you know, some people just don't do it properly. It's true. Or they don't do it long enough for their body to change over. Some people have been eating high carbohydrates for so long that they're not able to switch over to a ketogenic diet. Anyway, some people, a lot of people experience a great benefit of switching from a standard American diet or the general food pyramid healthy diet over to a vegan diet. Now, personally, I found that veganism ruined my health. And veganism, what led me to veganism was finding the nirvana of health. Anyway, you know, the point I'm trying to make here is, you know, remove the foods that are harming you. Remove the foods that are harming you. And start eating a lot more of the foods that make you feel good. Okay? If you have a goal of building muscle, you need to align your diet with that goal. Whatever your idea of building muscle is. Some people believe you don't need a lot of protein. Some people believe you can get all your protein from, you know, pumpkin seeds. Some people believe you can get all your protein from bananas. Some people believe you can't get any protein from those foods. You know, there's so many different ideas. You know, the thing is, don't get caught up in all this complexity. You really do have to understand that what matters is your tangible results in life. You know, there's people who do everything completely the opposite of what the mainstream health organizations tell you. Which, by the way, mainstream organizations have actually been negotiating with junk food industries. The World Health Organization, the CDC. They've been in contact with Coca-Cola, and it's been proven through emails and documents, which is crazy, you know, but a lot of people get their information directly from these places. Anyway, you know, that's the thing. You can't trust these gurus of any kind, no matter how credible you think they are. So take the best information from the best sources and field test it. And if you start to notice you look like you know, you're developing anorexia, stop doing that. If you notice you feel lethargic and brain foggy, don't do that. But also, you need to avoid the trap of overcomplexity. Avoid the trap of food, what do you call it, eating disorders. Avoid the trap of dogma. And avoid the trap of hypochondria. Because I've had people email me about questions and about problems, and they tell me they have this bloating and this and that, and they have all these supposed symptoms that, you know, are entirely subjective, and they don't have any blood tests to back it up, and they're always changing their diet and convinced that every food that they eat is killing them. But in reality, it's just like, oh, I eat a little bit of food, my stomach gets a little bit big, because, you know, there's got to be room to put my food somewhere, and I'm not a skinny twig, and therefore I'm suffering from my diet. I need to change it, and I have health problems. But the reality is, you don't have health problems. You just need to be consistent with one diet so your body can get used to consuming food, you know? And so I've seen this craziness over and over again. And the over-complexity of nutrition is not good. And the thing is, again, people take it to an extreme. There's this one channel, which I mentioned before, but I don't mention the name because I don't want this channel to get big, because I feel like it's doing more harm than good. But basically, the person on there is trying to make nutrition easy because he's promoting this thing which he thinks is more natural. It's like intuitive eating, and he thinks that it's going to make people healthier because it's getting rid of the rigidity and the dogma. But the problem is it allows people to eat foods that are clearly negative for everyone. I think it's important to have principles to live by. You know, like you don't have to be like, oh, if it's not organic, if it's not grass fed, then it's gonna kill me. You know, eat adequate protein, eat adequate calories, because if you don't, you'll feel like crap. You know, the principles that matter the most are what you need to worry about. Have principles, basic guidelines in which you follow. You want to follow the 80-20 principle. Like 80% of your results are reliant on, 20% of the things you do. Essentially, care the most about the things that make the most impact, and everything else is secondary. If you can't eat perfect all the time, don't worry about it. But conversely, if you're eating junk 80% of the time, then fuck that. And everybody wants to have this one supplement or this one magic pill or this one magic diet that'll cure everything. And I think that there's some things that work very well. For example, I honestly feel like the ketogenic diet works very well for most people. I also think logging your food and tracking micro and macronutrients and eating a macronutrient ratio which makes you feel the best, it works amazingly well, no matter what you choose. But then I think, being exactly weighing your food and being exactly precise on everything and only eating organic heirloom wild-caught vegetables from the forest, dude, you're causing yourself so much harm by stressing over these minute issues. So anyway, yeah, man, it doesn't have to be so hard. So leave your question in the comments down below and then I'll talk to you next.